Alright, hi guys, and welcome to DareDaze podcast, episode 22. This is the podcast where we talk about days when you dare to be yourself, your self-discovery, identity matters, and all the great things that help you be true to yourself. And today, I'm super excited. Super excited and I can't wait to introduce you to my guest today, Mark, who is this just incredible person.
Talking about the identification?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna watch you identify me.
Well, I'm actually gonna watch you identify yourself. How about that? I think the most important thing that I've noticed about you when we first met is your presence. So every time when you walk into the room, I just know that you're there. You know, there's this category of people. You know, they have presence.
You know, I'm 6'4", so that certainly contributes to the presence in the room.
So instead of me identifying you, why don't we start from you telling us where are you, what are you doing as of right now, what occupies your days? Because there's so many things that I know.
There's a bunch, and I keep forgetting about most of them. No, I'm a cellist, and historically, for the last 20 years, I've been there. But in addition to being a cellist and performing a lot, I do a lot of production, I do a lot of creative consultancy, etc., for the businesses, for artistic projects around the world, etc. So it's really depend upon the case.
Yeah, I find it very interesting when people ask me or anyone else, right? What do you do, or how do you identify? How would you describe yourself? There's always something that comes first. Is that music in your case?
I mean, I always leave it to the person who is introducing me to different people. I just prefer not to do a cold pitch. Although my name is Mark, and like what else? It depends upon the case, you know. It depends. I'm always trying to be reflectant in the way I talk to people. So if I know I'm talking to a person from business world, I would probably say that I'm a creative strategist and creative producer. You know, and why would they need to know that I'm a cellist? But in New York, most likely people are going to introduce me as a cellist.
I think I think this is a great point you're making, because not too many people think in that way of themselves, that they don't need to be just something just cellist, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure there are musicians who are I'm playing piano and that's it, that's all I do, and all of my other talents or things that I'm interested, passionate, or good at don't really matter, because there should be one.
Yeah, it's a social thing. I mean, I would always prefer to reflect on a person I'm talking to. I don't want to introduce myself in a context of myself. I want to introduce myself, and I want to hold a conversation in the context that would be suitable for both people talking. This is the first social thing that anyone is going to teach you, you know, in your life. That when you're talking to someone, you have to make it pleasurable for another person, and the same, and it goes vice versa.
Will it be pleasurable to you then?
It will, because I'm always hoping that the other person thinks the same way.
Does it always? I wonder if okay, so you leave this task to another person. Does it always happen that whatever people say about you is actually what you expect them to say?
I don't care.
You don't care?
I don't care.
This is great.
We'll act upon the circumstances, so to speak. I mean, if I realize it's not my kind of person, I can always say that I'm sorry I had somewhere to be, and it was very pleasurable talking to you, and we'll hope to catch you at some point.
As you can see, Mark is Mark is a super
one of a bitch. I mean, yes.
A super confident person, and I feel like today we're having confidence 101
pretty much
conversation.
I know I have this terrible habit of no matter when I'm talking to someone, especially when it's on camera, because I'm trying to ignore the camera
I
part.
can totally see that.
But I can't really. But I have this tendency of lecturing. I'm always like preaching to people, which is
good in our case. So
I mean, it's a professional deformation after all, you know, because I do read lectures and
while we're here,
yeah.
Where do you read lectures, and what are those lectures about?
I read lectures all over the place. I mean, I just came back from Turkey, and we were lecturing with my colleague at the Bilkent University, where we're bringing to them concept of self-management, entrepreneurship in the arts, project management, community engagement, all of those hot subjects that unfortunately never get taught for the music students.
Oh.
So that's exactly what we did, and on the 26th of January, I'm hosting at the Jewelry School a big entrepreneurial type of intensive.
Is it open to everyone?
I'm not sure about that, so I'm not sure if this advertisement actually works
I'll
or
let
not.
you know, guys, if it's open.
Anyway, yeah, but those kind of subjects also I do whatever interests me and whatever I have enough credentials to read about.
Why do you think not all of the people have that freedom to do whatever they want? Whatever interests them? Because you make it sound so easy, you know. Oh, I just want to read a lecture about this at Juilliard. Why don't I do this? Not everyone can do it.
The problem is that I'm not Eric Fromm or Sigmund Freud to answer that kind of question, because it kind of buried in the way the society is built and in the way the society pressures you. I mean, for me, try to pressure me. I mean, that's not really gonna happen. You're gonna get off at the same stop you got in, type of thing.
I'm not trying to today.
You can try, but I'm just saying that I don't know why some people just give up easily and some people keep going. I mean, I just feel like I had enough credentials to do it because I know what to say and I have stuff to say, so I'm just gonna say it. And none of this is happening, you know, because I decide. So I hold meeting with people. I present to them exactly what I'm gonna do. Like they see the way I'm gonna be doing it, and either I convince them and they trust me, or I don't convince them and they don't trust me. I mean, that's it. And nothing hurts you.
As long as you remember yourself, have you always been that confident?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it was a big problem because way before I got any type of, like, I mean, I'm not saying that I have fabulous credentials right now to read all of it,
but you kind of do, and
in a way,
I don't know, shall we share your page of biography?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead and do that. But no, in a way I do. But when I was a kid, I mean, it was exactly the same, but it was complete bullshit.
Yeah.
You know. So I just realized at some point that this is what I do. So I have two choices: to continue the bullshit or gain the experience and the credentials in order to do it on a level that is not going to be bullshit anymore. You know, this type of thing. And I slowly get it there. I'm slowly getting there. All I can say.
Is there maybe an advice that you could give, or maybe you give the similar advice to anyone at your lectures or students, how to be more confident in what you say, what you do, how you show up to life?
I mean, you just have to realize that it's one life that you're living, and there is nothing before or after. And you know, actually, there is one thing that influenced me a lot.
Oh, let's see.
It's a passage from, I don't remember from what play, but it's a quote from Chekhov, who is a fabulous Russian writer, playwright, and etc. etc. He said that Russians live in the past, don't care about the present, and afraid of the future, which is pretty much can be applied to any nationality around the world.
That's very true.
But it's a trademark of Russian people, and we kind of get it. But and that's exactly why would you live in the past? Why would you not care about the present? Why would you be afraid of the future? If you are who you are right now, and you've got to sell who you are right now. So basically identify the strengths and weaknesses, sell the strength, hide the weaknesses, or work on the weaknesses until they're going to become the strengths. So it's all about the strategic planning of what you've got to offer. You basically have to treat yourself at some point as a product. And I mean, because I'm coming from a performer background, et cetera, and I'm a performer. I mean, I'm constantly, since I was a child, I got used to people talking about me as a product, you know, as something that sells to public but doesn't sell to public. So at some point, you just have to treat yourself this way and realize that, okay, as far as the professional side of me goes, this is, I'm a brand. And what is my brand identity? What is my brand motto? What is the mission statement of my brand? Et cetera, et cetera. And then keep going. I mean, but without a good branding and without believing in your branding, your business is not going to succeed, because all of your negotiations with other businesses are going to go to hell because you're not going to be confident. So, if you're choosing the entrepreneurial path and you are on your own type of thing, you've got to do a self-branding type of thing, and that requires to either construct or realize your identity.
So, and what helps people, or what helped you at some point to realize your identity, to understand who? Because as any product, you need to know, right, what's your mission, or what are your good sides or bad sides.
Yeah, I mean, in my case, it was kind of. It depends, first of all, upon what we're talking about. Because as a producer, there's one thing. As a cellist, it's another thing. As a person who does consulting, it's a completely different thing. But as a performer, it was easy because I get immediate feedback from people, and I get immediate feedback from press. All of those quotes and et cetera, reviews. You know, I stumbled upon a review when I was, I think, 16 or 17. Prihodko is a true Russian powerhouse. And I'm just like, that's disruptive.
I think I saw that too.
No, and since then, that's my bio opening. That's proclaimed by blah 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 as a true Russian powerhouse, because that's kind of who I am. In the way I hold myself on stage, in the way I dress on stage, in the way I present myself, in the way I play, in the sound, and everything. That kind of simplifies it, not simplifies it, but it kind of sums up all of the experience that a public get in while they're listening to me. So, and I'm building my brand around it. So the website is going to be according to that. My bio is going to be according to that. I'm going to choose venues and projects and repertoire based on that. Everything evolves around that. So
that is amazing.
It's same here. I mean, as far as the business goes, as far as the production goes, I always knew that I wanted to do something with contemporary art and collaborative contemporary art. So we did a festival in Belarus where I lived for the first 14 years of my life, and I got tons of experience, and I got the experience to talk about it, and because there has been so much research going into it, and therefore my expertise within the art world heavily relied on the collaborative contemporary art. So that's how the whole consulting type of thing started, and that's how the whole branding around the consulting thing has started.
So basically, it seems, from what I understand and from what I know about you, it seems that as you grow also, you kind of stumble upon different stages in your life where you find something really interesting for yourself or challenging, right? And then you kind of revolve around this, or is it more of like a branches?
It's a branch, and it's all continuous. I never stopped performing, and performing was like the main thing, the main leitmotif. And then around this, that's the Christmas tree. And the ornamentation, you know, it really depends upon the case. I mean, but there's one central path that I've chosen and going to, and then there's stuff I pick up on the way. which interests me, which strikes me, which challenges me, and blah blah blah, all of the things.
Which, as we've had a conversation prior to this, from that
We had many conversations.
from that conversation, I realized and understood that it is important for you for the task to be challenging enough in order for you to get into this and become.
The way I treat all of those new projects and new stages in the life is basically, I don't like institutions, and I don't like learning from the institutions.
Right.
So I learn from the experience. I'm quick at grasping things. So I take a project that I'm probably not qualified for, probably I don't know nothing about, and I just very quickly learn how to do it from experience. That's the school. As long as you treat your new projects as an educational thing, and you are open to learn, and you kind of structure it in a way that you have a team of consultants from the field who are helping you to shape the thing. You always run it by people. You have access to so many great people in the industry that first of all will appreciate your vision on it because you're kind of fresh and new, but at the same time they would like to share their experience, etc., etc. So it's beneficial for both sides.
That's great. Do you remember any cases when you were scared to take the new project? Because from what you're saying, I think if you approach any new project as an educational kind of path, right? That here is my task and this is what I need to do to become good at it. Then you're not afraid of anything.
Let me correct you. You treat the process of the project as an educational experience. However, the result you have to deliver has to be professional and kind of groundbreaking in the industry. So you have to kind of do 5 things at once in this sense. And have I ever been afraid? I don't think so, because always whenever from the start of the project I have to gather a team and I have to influence this team. I have to inspire this team to work with me, and it's kind of like I'm dressing myself in this project, and that's what I'm wearing, type of thing. I mean, some people call it fake it until you make it strategy. I don't necessarily agree with. I mean, there is one component missing. Fake it, sure, there is certainly that. Make it, there is certainly that. But in between that, you have to really do something.
Someone recently rephrased this phrase as "make it until you make it."
I mean, true. I mean,
which I like more probably than faking part.
No, you've got to first of all influence yourself. You have to constantly keep the fire, even if you don't have the fire. You kind of have to fake it. You don't fake the project. You don't fake the work. You don't fake the project. You fake the fire, and you fake the willingness to do it. Because, come on, I don't think you really want to spend 5 hours on building a website and then realizing it's not gonna work, and then starting from scratch. That's not fake it until you make it. That's kind of you have to keep the fire inside of you, and that's the part where you have to fake. You have to initiate, maybe not fake, but initiate everything.
That's very interesting. And in your today's everyday's life, how important it is to have that fire in you. Because as creatives, we all have those days, right, when you want to lay down and do nothing. Or there are days when you want to create and you have that energy. Is it important to kind of keep the level of energy at some level, or the days when you're low are also important to have? What's your
Absolutely. I'm always taking I almost never take projects that involve just me. It's always I have to hire people, or there are people around me, or there are co-founders of an organization or something like this, and I just count on them to take the keeper of the fire role to that, because obviously, I mean, I know myself. And I know all of my weaknesses. I know that I'm going to be extremely excited about this project. In 2 months, not much is going to happen, and I'm just going to buy next one. And therefore, if the person with whom I work has enough fire to kind of share it with me when I'm out, that's when it's all happening. And I mean, in my case, there's only one instance of the project that is happening now that I was lucky with the person. It's Zeynep, it's my partner for the Turkish project, who were able to kind of grasp the fire and pull through, pull me through, which is usually my role. So I'm stick to those kind of people who can reflect and fight back.
And what's your, I guess, let's call them good habits maybe, or rules for you?
I don't have those.
Okay, no rules.
I don't have good habits. No, I don't have good habits. I mean, rules that constantly.
But good habits in the sense that your own practices that help you maintain your creative energy healthy, right? Like what helps you? Some people read, some people write, some people take breaks, sabbatical, leave. I don't know. Go for a walk, play. Well, you would probably play the instrument too. It's so interesting with musicians.
That's the practice that is required. You know?
But stay away from the instrument. Yeah. Wow.
Anyway, again.
It's a good thing we're recording video as well.
I don't know. Kind of for me, more I have piled up.
Yeah.
And more type of if I have a bunch of diverse work that I have to do, and it's all piled up, it's easier for me to work.
Wow.
I can't work for 2 or 3 hours every day. I would much rather work for 20 hours on Saturday than working 2 or 3 hours every day.
Nice.
I don't know, because once I get into the
flow,
I will be much more efficient, and it's impossible to stop that. But if it requires a routine thing, I'm still trying to figure out how that works for me. So I'm not the perfect example for advice. Like, don't search for advices that it's not gonna happen. So might as well just invite someone else for that person, for that purpose.
That's
it is true.
Another question I wanted to ask you is actually related to music and music in a global, I guess, scheme of things. Do you think music can define a person? Like the music that a person likes or into or maybe plays? Because music is different. There are different types. There are different genres. There are different.
I mean, can I rephrase it?
Yeah.
Does is the way a person perform? Like, you mean like circular people who listen to music, or you mean like professional people who perform music?
Well, let's start from professional people.
Yeah, because professional people, I'm not talking about pop, because that's not my area of expertise. If to talk about classical, contemporary, this kind of thing, and jazz. I mean, no, not jazz, sorry. Classical musicians, they interpret the things. It's kind of, they're the interpreters. They're not the composers. And for the interpreters, I can tell exactly. I mean, many people are gonna roll their eyes, but I can tell exactly a person by the way he plays a piece.
Really?
Yeah, and my judgments are pretty accurate. I mean, so many people say that you can tell how the person is in bad by the way he plays or she plays romantic music. You know? And that is true as well. I mean, I do agree with that. By the way, but by what music you like, probably too, because the sonority and the features that every genre of music has to showcase, they kind of reflect your personality, or at least your persona, etc. So it's the same with visual art. It's the same with performing art. It's, you know, it's a part of the society. It's very reflectant on the society, and therefore it becomes a part of this. It's a features of the personality. Therefore, you can kind of tell.
Because I oftentimes think that when I'm trying to describe myself, as long
why
as
would you do that?
as long well, as
why would you do that?
Well, because ever since I've been going to see therapists, that's what we've been trying to. Well, she's been trying to help me to do.
You're
that.
trying to define what aspect of.
Well, I'm
yourself?
trying to understand myself better. Why?
Your actions?
My actions and my character too, because apparently I never knew myself, or never cared to know myself. Let's put it that way. And then when you don't know your own boundaries, you don't know your own kind of
I
character.
don't like the word
becomes...
"no" in this connotation. Not that I'm trying to get into conflict with your therapist, but I don't know. I feel like as we go down the road, we are discovering ourselves. You know, discovering what we can and cannot do, the capability. It's always a spectrum. It's not a point. It's a spectrum of things.
I agree. No, I agree
Therefore,
with that.
knowing who you are is not exactly the term I understand in this connotation.
I'd say, well, you can know it at a certain moment in time, right? You can know. No?
Good for you. I mean, like I would never bother with that. I mean, I know what I'm capable of. I know I'm aware of the features of my character. But do I know my character? I wouldn't say so. Do I know the way? I don't know. You know,
I see.
I know what the capability, the probability, and etc. I can calculate those things based on the experience, on the past experience. But calling it knowing, if you know something, you can calculate it. What's going to happen in the future. This is pretty much impossible. I mean, the cognitive behavior versus the subconscious behavior, like those kind of things are still very young.
But
I mean, the terminology even not older than 100 years old. You know, since.
But let me come back to the music piece of it of this, right? So, for instance. As far as I'm paying attention to what kind of music I like, and I pay attention a lot to that, at this point I was able to figure out that there are certain musicians, certain genres, certain melody that I tend to like.
Like the way you sing.
And that's where my question came from, that I think that it's easy for me to predict what I'm gonna like or not. And then I'm thinking, well, does it describe me in any way, the music that I like, and the fact that I only like certain music and certain music that I don't like. So I think that's interesting. Similar to with any kind of art.
Sure, it's all subject. The art is subjective. What one person hears and will describe what Bill Evans does on piano, for another person would be a completely different story. So before you kind of trying to figure out what this type of person is, you have to agree on what Bill Evans is. You know, and what does he do? And that's pretty much impossible.
Yeah.
You see, and that's why classification of the character through music requires the classification of music that will never happen.
That's very interesting.
If it makes any sense what I just
said. It does. No, I understand, yeah.
Because sometimes I go in realms in English that I can't follow up to.
tell me this: what brings you joy on a day-to-day?
People. As much as
Connection.
as much as I just generally don't like people.
What's that mean?
No. But I mean, I find it hard to like people as a genre.
As a genre.
As a genre, it's impossible to like people. But particular individuals in this earth, they bring me joy.
Yeah.
And being by myself, also reconnecting and kind of restructuring, readjusting the settings type of thing, and cleansing in this way from the society, that's one part of it. And the other part of it is being with the right people, and the right people allow you to be who you are. Maybe you don't even know that you are this way, but with certain people who you really trust, you just naturally become yourself.
How do you feel? How do you feel that the people are right? That the right circle of people, or right person? That, let's say,
I see it and I say that feels right. I mean,
you feel
for
it,
me,
right?
for
Like
me,
there's
it's
that
a
feeling?
complete intuitional.
Yeah.
You know, it's just my type of person. That's it. Let's go.
That is so great. You know, not all of the people have that kind of sense of intuition where they feel, and they.
I feel like people have way too much things to lose. They think that they have, and that actually answers most of the questions you asked. That kind of the conclusion that just came to my mind. It's people are not confident because they're afraid of losing something. They're afraid of not getting something and losing something. But what have we got to lose? What have people got to lose?
Right.
I mean, reputation. Come on, move to Brazil and start your reputation from scratch.
Yeah.
You know, if you think your character and being yourself is not going to be accepted by this society, find a different society. I mean, why to bother struggling
That is
with this
great.
for a while? I mean, for example, when you move, that's basically the answer for everything. If you're too afraid to go pitch your idea to a corporate of some sort, I mean, you're afraid of losing this connection. But why do you need this connection if you're never going to present? You know, just realizing what, being honest and laying out the map of possibilities, I think, and calculating the probabilities and possibilities is one of the most essential life skills that just people don't do. And that doesn't work.
That was one very insightful conversation.
That's what it was.
It definitely was. Tell us, where can we find you, and what are your next plans if you're performing, where and which cities, because you travel a lot.
I mean, I don't remember. You can look it up on my website.
What's your website?
It's my first name, last name.
Okay. We'll put it in the comment section.
Or just type my name in Google or something. Something, one way or the other, is gonna show up, and hopefully it's not this video, which I made 2 years ago. You know, I was young and needed money. We'll see.
We all have those videos, you know.
I mean, hopefully not. But,
Are you
around Manhattan?
Around Manhattan.
Yeah.
For now, for
the next couple of months, for sure.
Okay, well, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you
being
for
with
inviting.
us today, and thank you guys for listening. And hopefully we'll